Welcome everybody to the 2025 Holiday Lights Beadalong. Woo! So glad you're here. Today we are going to begin making our little votive holder, candle holder. Remember that you must not use real flames in this, okay? If you're gonna light it up, please use an artificial candle, okay? We don't want anybody burning their house down. So we will be making this, and I am going to very quickly, hopefully you've watched the intro video that has the materials and things, but I will very quickly run through the materials. So you're going to need some 15 O's and some 11 O's for your main color, and then I am choosing to add a little accent color in on my base like I did here. You can see that the bottom has two colors on it. Okay, so that silver one is my accent color. I'll put all the names and things down below. We have some 3mm beads, bicones, crystal bicones. You're gonna need a lot of these. You're gonna need 80. So I have several packs. I have another pack as well if I run out, but I think that's enough. You're gonna need some 4mm beads. I used two colors. So here I used green and then I used fuchsia. So you're gonna need 32 of your first color and 16 of your second color for a total of 48. So I have here some tanzanite and I have here some crystal vitriol. Then you're gonna need some 6mm bicones as well. So I have crystal Labrador here. And I wanted to tie these two together kind of like I did here. So I have the big ones here and then the small, it just kind of helps to visually tie that together, but you absolutely don't have to. If you want to just have all one color, you can, okay? Then you're gonna need some 6mm pearls. You're gonna need quite a lot. You need 52, okay? So I think these are the baby pink ones from Potomac. So that's what I am using there. And then I have some 2x3mm Rondelles, and these are tanzanite AB. So it kind of ties in with my tanzanite crystals. Okay, so you're going to need some 6-pound fireline. I'm using crystal because for my clear crystals, you know, I don't want it to show. If I used smoke, it would show. All right, and obviously you'll need a beading needle of some type. You can probably get away with a size 10 throughout the entire project. You may want to have an 11 on standby, okay? Very quickly, before we begin, I want to let you know that there is a PDF pattern with all 4 days worth of beading in it available in my pattern shop. It's only $5. It is a wonderful tool for you if you don't want to keep watching the video over and over, or if you just like to work from a pattern or have a pattern on the side. It is fully illustrated step by step, and it is also a great way to support me and help me keep doing what I'm doing here if you like this channel and you want it to stick around. Okay, so just quickly before we begin stitching, today we're going to be working on this central motif, and we're going to make 4 separate units. This unit can also be used as a pendant, which you'll see once we make it, but that's kind of the area that we're going to be working on there, okay? So you will not need your second color of 4mm bicone or your rondelles. You can put those off to the side for today, okay? The second color, or what I'm calling the second color, are these ones here, okay? Because there's fewer of them. The ones that I'm using are the ones that are in here. So I'm using my tanzanite today. All right, so you're gonna need about 4.5 feet of thread per motif here for the front of our votive. So you're going to pick up alternating a pearl and then a 6mm bicone. So these are 6mm pearls and 6mm bicones. So you're just going to pick up pearl, bicone, until you have 4 on your thread. okay? You probably won't fit them all on your needle, so just push them down and then pick up the last couple. But make sure you start with a pearl first, okay? Kind of important here. All right, and once you have that, leave yourself a 4-inch tail at the end, okay? Just enough, should be about 2 times the length of your needle. And then you're going to sew up through all of those beads again. And again, you may not be able to make it all through in one go. That's fine. You can do 2 goes if you need to. I nearly lost the end of my thread there. Just be careful that you don't accidentally pull everything out. Okay, so just make sure that you still have enough tail left. You can adjust this if you need to, and then go ahead and sew through the pearl as well, just to get away from the end thread and really form it into a nice circle, okay? We are not going to be tying any knots, okay? Do not tie a knot because we will be going through these beads multiple times and we don't want to block anything up, okay? All right, so here we are. We are now going to pick up one of our 11 O's, another pearl, another 11 O, another pearl, and one more 11 O. Okay, so we have an 11 O, a pearl, 11 O, pearl, 11 O. I'm coming out the top of this bead and I'm going to sew into the other side of the bead plus the next bicone as well. Okay, and pull that, and you will now have a little group like this where the pearls are. Okay, move forward through the next pearl, and you're just going to repeat this for each pearl. So make sure that you're coming out the far side of the pearl and then you go through it again and then move forward, okay? So one more time, it's a 11 O, a pearl, 11 O, pearl, 11 O. Okay, so that's what you have. You're coming out the far side of the pearl, you're going into the near side and then moving forward through the pearl and the next bicone and the next pearl, but you'll probably have to do this in 2 moves because of the angle, okay? And just, yeah, be careful, like I said, with those bicones, okay? So go ahead and do that for the next 2 pearls, and then I will speed through that and I'll be back in a second. And when you're at your last pearl, you're going to go through that pearl, through the bicone, just like we did before, okay? And you're going to pass forward into the next pearl. Make sure that at this point your tail is on the bottom, or like towards the middle. You don't want it to get buried up in this area up here. Make sure that it's accessible in the hole, okay? All right, so you should have something that looks a bit like this at the moment, and that should have helped to kind of get any slack out if you were having trouble holding it together because we haven't tied a knot. That should help. The loops should help to pull everything together a little bit, okay? So you're going to sew up through the first 11 O that you just added in that round there next to the pearl, okay? We're going to pick up 7 more 11 O's. Okay, so that's 7. And you're going to sew down into the opposite 11 O, just jump over the bicone, okay, like this, and then you're going to sew through the pearl. And you're going to do the same thing here. You're going to sew up that corner 11 O, Again, you're going to pick up 7, and then you're going to sew down, and you're just going to go through and do all 4 of the bicone areas. Okay, so I'll be back once I've done that. Okay, I'm adding my last group of 7 on my last bicone here, and just make sure when you're doing this that you do remember to go up and down into those seed beads. It's very easy to forget. Okay, so just learn from my mistakes. All right, once you've done the last group, you're going to pass through the purl. You're going to pass up the first 2 of the first group of 7 that we just added. Okay, so you're coming out from the second bead here. You're going to pick up one of your 4mm bicones, 3 11/0s, and 1 bicone. This. So these are the 4mm. Okay. You're coming out the second bead here. You're going to go down the second bead here. Okay. So go down both those 2 beads, the last 2 beads on that side, and pull it, okay, like this. And then pass through that purl again. And then you're going to pass up the next 2 beads. You're just going to repeat that for all 3 sides, all 3 more, so all 4 sides in total. Okay, so you're picking up 4mm bicone, 3 seed beads, and a 4mm bicone, and you're going down into the second from the last and that very last seed bead there, like that. Okay, and through the purl, and then go up the next 2, same thing again. All right, I'll be back in a second. Okay, I just added my last one on. I've come down these 2 here. I'm going to pass through the purl again. This purl is going to get a lot of traffic. And then we're going to pass up the first 5 beads on this strand, which means that we will be coming out from the middle bead, okay? So it can be a little bit difficult to get up through them. Just take your time if you need to do like a couple beads at a time. That's fine. It doesn't have to be all in one go. Okay, so you're coming out the 5th one. So see, that's the middle one. There's 4 here, and then that one there. Okay, so coming out from that 5th bead, you're going to pick up 2 of your 15/0s. You're going to sew through this 3rd bead on this strand here. So we've got 1, 2, 3, going back towards where you were coming from. So I'm working in this direction. So the one that's like my thread's coming out on this side, I'm going to just sew through that one right there, okay, back towards this middle one here, okay. So there's my 2 15/0s. Then I'm going to pick up 3 15/0s. I'm going to go down the bead on this side. So those are going to sit over the top like this, okay. And then I'm going to pick up 2 more, and I'm going to sew into this middle bead where we started this loop from, okay? So it now should look kind of like this, okay? Like a little teardrop shape, all right? Then you're going to pick up 5 more of your 15/0s. Okay, 5. And you're going to sew through this bicone that's down below, but we're going back towards where we came from. Okay, so like if your thread's coming out this side, you're entering into the side that where your thread's coming out from. Okay, so that should be 5, and I only got 4. Mystery solved. I had dropped one on the way. Okay, so yes, with your 5, you're going to sew through that bicone back towards where you came from. And don't worry if it's kind of sitting up like that, a little bit weird, that's okay. Then you're going to pick up 4. This time you actually are picking up 4. Okay, and the top 15/0 that we just added, you're going to sew up through that 15/0 like so, okay, And when you pull that, it should kind of center those two strands together, and then you're going to sew forward through that middle shared bead at the bottom of that teardrop, that 11-0 right there, okay? So forward, because we're going to continue on to our next group. So for me, going forward is going that way to the left. Okay. So you may need to just kind of give it a little pull and massage it to get it to sit nicely, but it should sit kind of in a double row like this once you've got it. Isn't that pretty? I just love that. It's my favorite bit of the whole thing. Okay, once you've done that, you're going to sew down these 5 or 4, I guess, because we're in the 5th one, through here. And then we're going to repeat all of that on this side. So you're going to go through here and up the first 5. So let me do that. Okay, so when you're coming out that top bead, we're picking up 2 15-0s. We're going through, back through that bead towards the middle of that group of 3, okay? We're picking up 3 15-0s. We're going down the next, skipping that middle bead and going down the other end bead, like this, and then we're picking up 2 15-0s. We're going only into this one bead right here. Get that little teardrop shape. And if you need to kind of massage it, you can get it into position. Then you're going to pick up 5 15-0s. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You're sewing backwards through that 6mm bicone down below. Then you're picking up 4 this time. 1, 2, 3, 4. And you're sewing up into that top 15-0 on that strand you just added. Try and get them even. Sew through that middle bead at the top in the direction that you're working. Give these a little massage and then continue on down up the next 5. Okay, so go ahead, do that for the other 2 areas, and then I'll come back. Okay, I just finished this area here. I'm going down my 11-0s and through the purl. Okay, so you should now have something that looks a bit like this. And then you're going to go up that very first 11-0 after you exit the purl. Okay, just the first 11-0. You're going to pass up into the purl above, and then you're going to come out through this 11-0 at the top here. Okay. So we're now going to create a unit of right angle weave. So you're going to pick up 3 11-0s, and you're going to, if your thread's coming out this way, you're just going to sew through that 11-0 again. And it's just going to create a little square like this, and you want it to fold to the front. Okay, if you can, I mean, right now it's going to do whatever it wants, but eventually you're going to want it to fold forward like this. Okay. All right, so once you've done that, you're going to pick up 6 of your 15-0 beads. You're going to pick up 1 of your 11-0s, and you're going to pick up 1 of your 3mm bicones. And you're going to sew into this 11-0 and this 15-0 right here. Okay, so that first 11-0 and the first 15-0 like this, and you want this to be in front of your 15-0s, so kind of encourage your 15-0s to move towards the back and those 11-0s to go towards the front. Okay, you're going to skip this 15-0 and you're going to go down the next 15-0 and the 11-0. So 15 and 11. So you're just skipping that middle one, okay? Just to kind of help it form a little point like this. All right, and then you're going to pick up a 3mm bicone, an 11-0, and 6 15-0s. And then you're going to sew straight into the 11-0 between the next purl here. Okay, so we kind of have an edge on like this. You're going to create another unit of right angle weave here. So you're going to pick up your 3 11-0s and just sew through that 11-0 again. So you have that little unit going on, and again, try and move it to the front and the 15-0s to the back. Okay. If it doesn't want to stay, that's okay, but anyway. Okay, so then you're going to repeat. You're going to pick up your 6 15-0s, 1 2 3 4 5 6, your 11-0 and your 3mm bicone. You're going to sew up into this 11-0 and then the first 15-0. Skip that middle 15-0. Sew down the second 15-0 and the 11. Try and get that your thread underneath so that that bead stands up, okay? And then you're going to reverse and pick up 3mm, 11-0, and 6 15-0s. Okay, so I'll leave you to do that the rest of the way around, and then I'll come back. Okay, so once you finish that, you'll be sewing back into your first little unit of right angle weave here, and mine are actually now behaving and sitting forward like they're supposed to, so hurrah. Okay, so once you're coming through that 11-0 there, you're going to pass forward through the next 2 11-0s on the right angle weave unit so that you're coming out from the front of it, okay? And you're going to pick up the following. You're going to pick up 2 15-0s, 1 11-0, 1 3mm, 1 11-0, and 2 more 15-0s, okay? So 2 15s, 11 3mm, 11, and 2 15s. And you're going to sew down through the next, so my thread's coming out here, I'm going in this direction. You're going to sew down through that next 6mm bicone, and you want to kind of go over everything here, okay? So I'm kind of passing on top of the stuff down here, okay? Then you're going to do the same thing but in reverse. So you're going to pick up your 2 15-0s, your 11, your 3mm, your 11, and 2 15-0s. Okay, so same thing. And you're going to sew through the front of, like if you pull this down, that front bead on the right angle weave unit, okay? So through there. And then you're going to pass around that right angle weave unit just to kind of keep everything nice and tightened up here, okay? It's just helpful. So go all the way around until you're exiting from the front bead again. Make sure you don't get caught on one of your 15-0s there. It's really easy to do, okay? You're going to pick up 2 15-0s. You're going to sew down through this 11-0 that is before the bicone, okay? So you want it should kind of pull over to the left side, sorry. So now we have, there's our right angle weave unit, and then we have 2 little groups of 15 O's. So you just picked up 2 and went through there. Then you're going to pick up the rest of this. So you're picking up a 3mm, an 11O, and 2 15s. And you're going through the next 6mm bicone down below. Okay, so this is what the embellishment on the front of that unit should look like. Okay, it should be even like this. So you've got a little loop going up and down, and then you've got your 2 bicones sitting next to each other. You've got your 2 11Os and your 2 15Os here. Okay, so it should look kind of even like that. Okay, so you're going to repeat this here. You're going to pick up your 2 15s, 11, bicone, 11, 15. Going to go in through here, circle all the way around, pick up your 2 15s, go into the 11, and then pick up a bicone, 11, and 2 15s. All right, so you're going to do that for the next 2 things, and then when we get back here, it's slightly different because some of the beads are already here. Okay, so once I get back to that beginning group, I'll show you what to do. Okay, and then we'll be done with this unit, and you have to go and make 3 more. Okay, so I'll be back in a second. All right, so when you get to the last bit here, you're going to pick up your 2 15s, your 11, and your bicone, but you don't need to pick up the next 11 because we're going to share the one that's already up here after the bicone. So you're going to go through that bicone, through that 11 and get your bicone in there, and then you're just going to pick up the last 2 15s, and you can pass through that top bead of that unit there. And I would not sew around the unit again because we are going to be using these units quite a bit, so I don't want any more thread in it, so I'm just going to sew down through here. You can now tie off both threads, but don't use these right angle weave units or any of the side areas. Okay, try and tie off in the center, either on the central ring. You don't even need to tie a knot, you can just sew around it and then cut it. Okay, and up here you can just weave in, and you might want to tie this one, but the central ring is pretty solid, it's not going to come undone, so you can just sew that in and then cut it. Anyway, so there is our piece. You're going to go and make 3 more of these today, and then tomorrow we are going to make the base section. Okay, and then Saturday, day 3, we are going to join our units that we're making today together. So we're going to kind of do this area here, and then day 4 we're going to finish our edging up here, and we're going to attach our base and do the edging down here. So that is how we're going to take it for the next 3 days. Okay, so I hope, and you can see what I mean. Isn't that lovely? Just for like a pendant or something, I would wear that. I think it's beautiful. Anyway, okay guys, please go and post your makes if you're beading along. I'd love to see them in our Jewels and Roses Beading Buds group on Facebook. It's always so much fun to see everybody's work. And if you're not a member, make sure that you do answer the membership questions. They are just there to allow us to make sure that we're not letting in, any spammers or bots or anything like that. We do want you to join, but we just need to make sure that, you are a real person. So please answer those questions. Okay, thanks guys. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye. Happy beading.